today's topic that this process can be broken down in four major stages, the end-to-end process.
So we take these search fields, we try to understand it and clarify it together with our clients.
And they created hundreds of ideas because that is, let's be honest, quite easy to do. You can sit down and just do some sticky notes and create a lot of ideas. That's what we call, then you create an ocean of ideas. So how do you then manage those ideas? Which ones are really the ones to bet on? And that is
to tackle this, we move then to the job to be done perspective. There is a break in the project at this moment where we say, okay, now let's forget the technology, let's forget the solutions, let's think customer only. Many of you know the quote, people don't want a drill, they want a hole in the wall. That is really the quote from Ted Levitt, and basically captures what is jobs to be done. So the whole purpose of this phase is really draw out job metrics that people use to judge if a job is done well or not. The next step then is we take these metrics and we put it into quant. It is basically showing a curve of 50 to 100 metrics in terms of importance and in terms of fulfillment. And where there is a gap, that is a pain point.
So here you see where we're coming really from the user perspective in the exploration, we go into a quantification, and now we have the fact base to judge whether our hypotheses that we have are actually right or not. So it gives you a very clear idea of what are the 10, maybe 15 really hero features or hero ideas or strategic directions that we should take from a customer perspective.
So we crafted what we call the meaningful idea canvas. And you also see a couple of points that we shaded in that orange tone in here, right? So what could be the unfair advantage to be tested as we go on in the business foundation stage? We lay down the measurable point where in the initial validation phase, we would zero in. We also said, what's the critical assumption? And you see that in the bottom left, how to keep this micro navigation updated. The art in that kind of thinking in here, the zooming in into the customers, the jobs to be done, qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis is a time box, right? You want to have 10 or 12 meaningful ideas per quarter. What we hear quite often is that the product is being built, the MVP, the pilot, or some companies call it the minimum marketable product stuff. But the countries that are supposed to take up an international rollout, they are not prepared. So once we validated worthy to be scaled and then ready to be scaled, another part that is missing in many validation frameworks, we then move on and say, how can we measure in more detail? It's not about adding more canvases to the toolbox, because you know the sentence, a fool with a tool is still a fool, right? It's how can we make the team's work in those deliverables align with an team external viewpoint on how big their progress is. And the trick is there needs to be a transitional phase between the validation and the scaling. Why? This is where the alignment between the day-to-day business and the scale-up, who should use resources, assets, and capabilities from the core, takes place, right? The interplay between the core and the scale-up, in particular those PM systems that I mentioned earlier, right? And aligning on a common game plan. There are 4 generic tracks: the market track, the product track. You need to build an organization and also develop that relationship to core. Should it be a reintegration, or should it be a spin out?
Experiment with customer needs. We find customer needs, we measure customer needs. They come out. Afterwards starts the experimentation. And I think this is a booster in terms of timing, because if you know the pain points up front, it also focuses then later on the development through money.
We don't start with on a blank page. Usually the ideas are there, the great ideas are there, but now what exactly? How exactly? What's the value proposition?
The first idea is the key challenge. And I have this vision that if you really listen to the customer and really understand where the pain point is, that is the fix. That's not the variable. That's the fix, the constant in the equation in this innovation.
Too many innovators think they need to come up with the great idea on their own, right? And then somehow convince, sell or so to the customers. Being humble, trying to deep dive, Beat, I would say, on the qualitative side and then the quantitative side as well. And having the mindset, we do have the capabilities, the platform and the tech stack and the go-to market. What should we build for you?